Well, hello, Christine. Thanks for coming in today. Today, we're going to sit down and discuss a few things about financial planning and the practices and ideas that we can talk about in the future. So, these are what we're going to talk about today. A few of the things like purpose of financial planning, like why we actually do this. We'll talk about what an income statement is, what a balance sheet is, and then how your cash flow should be distributed across your assets and your debt and all that kind of things. And then if we have time, we'll talk about some investment strategies that we might be able to investigate in the future as we start with future, meetings and discussions and stuff like that. Okay, so first, with the purpose of financial planning, um, really it's kind of a way that you navigate through the finances of life and everything, and how you meet your goals and aspirations for life. And the way I think about it is you got to know where you are so you can figure out how you want to get to where you want to go. Um, so where you are can be measured with like an income and a balance sheet, an income statement and a balance sheet, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And really, it's summed up with your net worth, and you use your net worth to kind of calculate where you are right now in life and how your finances are doing. And then it's quantifiable, and you can measure it against how you did previously and how you're going to be, how you're going to grow, and all that stuff. Where you want to go is, your goals, your short-term, long-term, medium-term goals, and uh, you lay those out, and that's something we're going to have to sit down and talk about a lot in the next coming months. Is what's important to you now? What do you want to get in the next year or so, and then in the next 1 to 5 years would be your medium-term goals. Like, what are you trying to get financially or purchase or whatever? And then what are your long-term goals? How do you want to retire? Do you want to buy big purchases in the future? And what's your career look like? It's like total life planning, really, by the end of the day. And then finally, once you know where you are and where you want to go, you can plan out how you get there. And that's really what your financial plan is how you take the money you make and the expenses that you have and distribute that income so that you can meet your goals later in life. Okay, so we're going to start with what an income statement is. And really, it's just a comparison of your income and expenses and whatever is left over. So if you look at this is an example of an income statement. Um, and really, income, there's two types of income. There's active and passive income. And your active income will be like anything where you go out and you get a job, or you work for a company, or you start your own business or something like that. And you're actively giving your time in order to receive an income. And your passive income is anything that generates money on its own, where you don't have to do anything, or at least not a lot. Like, you don't have to be physically present to earn money. So investments do that. Anything that has a return on investment, dividends, stocks, bonds, those kinds of things. Also, rental properties do that. They give you a passive income. Anything, we'll talk about investments later, but anything that you don't have to actively manage is considered passive income. And for expenses, there's your fixed and variable expenses. So your fixed expenses will be things that don't change from month to month. So it'll be your rent or your car payments or your debt payments, your minimum payments. Um, Food is usually one that is pretty fixed. You can pretty much forecast that, and big expenses like that. And then variable expenses are things you can't forecast, and usually those will be luxury items or going out to eat or unexpected expenses that you can't really forecast. And then what you do is every month, or either at the beginning of the month as a plan, or at the end of the month as a evaluation of how you did, you compare your income to your expenses and you determine what your surplus or your deficit is. Now, if you have a surplus, you're spending less than you make, which is good, because then you're able to save money. And if you have a deficit, if your expenses are greater than your income, you're spending more than you make, which is bad, and that's how you go into debt. and nobody really wants to go into debt because you're not moving forward towards your goals that we talked about earlier. A little bit later, we'll talk about what to do with the surplus. All right, so the second half of that income statement that I was talking about is your balance sheet. Your balance sheet is what happens, is where your surplus or deficit goes after the month is over. So your balance sheet includes your assets and your liabilities. And your assets is anything that can make you money or is worth money, is actual money, that kind of thing. And your liabilities is any debt or things that you owe upon. So, for example, your assets will include your savings account, your checking, any cash you have, any stocks or bonds or assets that you own that way. It also includes any real estate. Your car counts as an asset, your house, and your property, personal property, your clothes. Anything that you can sell and ultimately get money from is considered an asset. And then your liability will include any student loans or a car payment or like a mortgage, those kinds of things. Credit cards fall into the liability section as well. And then the way you calculate your net worth is by taking your assets and comparing them to your liabilities. And you'll either have a positive or negative net worth. And as time grows and as you save more money, your net worth will grow. And as your net worth increases, you'll be able to invest it appropriately and increase your income from investments and generate some passive income. And once you generate enough passive income, then you no longer need to work and you can retire. Most people wait until they're 60, 65 to retire, but you could retire sooner if you have more assets built up and less liabilities. All right, so when we talk about cash flow, I like to think of like a waterfall, and all the water is collecting, and the water is your income, and it's falling down this waterfall, and it's getting dropped off or distributed in different areas before it reaches the pool at the bottom. And so really what happens, like we talked about earlier, you have your income, which comes in at the beginning. That's the most water you're ever going to have each month. And then that gets distributed a little bit for different things like your fixed expenses and your variable expenses. And then whatever's left over, you can use to distribute to your various accounts. The first one that your money usually goes to after paying all your bills is the checking account. And I recommend that you keep at least a month of expenses in your checking account or anything that's coming up in the next year that you're going to need your money for that you can forecast. And then once that checking account is funded, anything left over can go towards debt payments. This is over your minimum payment that you pay each month. This is in addition to that. So you can reduce your debt and reduce the interest you're paying on the money that is owed to you. If there's any money left over each month after that, it can go into your savings account, which you'll have up to 3 months of expenses in there. And that'll also fund your medium-term goals, which are 1 to 5 years. If you have anything coming up in the next 5 years, you just save that money in your savings account and you get a low rate of return. However, it's guaranteed to be there, and you don't have any risk of losing it in the market, but you also get a lower return. After you fund your savings account, you can place additional funds into your long-term investments. And that'll go into long-term goals, which is more than 5 years, to include retirement planning and retirement savings. So right now you're going to school, but when you do have a corporate job or any kind of job like that, you might have a 401k available, which will give you tax incentives to invest for retirement. And usually your employer will contribute a certain amount up to a certain percentage of your income. So what I recommend is every month when you get your paycheck, you set aside whatever percentage that is from your employer that he's going to match your contributions. You set aside that same one, at least at the beginning. That way you're maximizing that free money, because if you put aside $100 and your employer matches $100, you just made a free $100, and it's 100% return on your money. So that's easy, guaranteed return. Anything after that, I recommend you put into a Roth IRA up to $5,500 a year, and that's tax deferred, where you pay taxes on that income now so that you don't have to pay taxes on it later. So there's some drawbacks to that. You can't pull it out until you're 59 and a half. So it is retirement money, and if you do pull it out, you will take a penalty, which is hurtful. You also pay taxes on that. So you don't really, any money you put in there, you're not going to want to pull out later, before you're 59 and a half. And then finally, at the bottom of your waterfall at your pool, if anything is left over from your income, you put the remainder of your surplus in your brokerage account, and you invest that into stocks and bonds and mutual funds. We'll talk about all these different accounts later, and we're going to work together and set them up over time and make sure that your investments are going into each one appropriately and that you're set up for success. Now, we were just talking about your brokerage account and your Roth IRA, and some of the ways that you can invest within those is, well, over time we're going to set up investments for you, and these are kind of the strategy that I recommend, at least for now. And it's low fee, inactive investing, where it's very passive. You just set aside money every month into your brokerage account, and you automatically invest it into index funds. And this way you can be diversified in the market, and you don't have to worry about managing your account or someone else managing your account or paying someone else to manage your account, because it's all done automatically and there's nothing you have to do. So it's very simple, it's easy, and it's automated. So it's just fast track, no problem. So the way I recommend doing that is using Vanguard index funds, which are very low in fees. So you don't lose money off the front end by paying for management fees or anything like that. And they're also very diversified, and they're shown through studies and proven over time that these index funds can give you a great rate of return to the market, equal to the market, and it's hard for these active investors to beat the market. So there's really 3 funds that you could have a completely diversified portfolio, and I recommend a total bond market index fund, and an S&P index fund, and an all world minus the United States index fund. And later, after we establish your goals and your financial plan and all that, we can determine what percentage of your portfolio should go into each one of those index funds. So, but it's been fun sitting down with you today, and I'm looking forward to sitting down with you again in the future so we can answer more of your questions and make sure that you're set up for success in your future endeavors. Thank you.